6 European Union states have complained to the European Commission over a significant reduction in deliveries of the Pfizer-BioNTech coronavirus vaccine. Pfizer has warned that modifications to its plant in Belgium will lead to temporary fluctuations in production, but will boost its capacity in the long term. Globally, there have now been 2 million deaths from COVID-19. That's according to research from Johns Hopkins University. Britain is tightening border controls to block new variants of COVID-19. The new rules will come in from Monday, and anyone flying into the country from overseas will have to show proof of a negative COVID test before setting off. US President-elect Joe Biden has outlined a $1.9 trillion spending package to combat the coronavirus pandemic and its effects on the economy. He described his proposals as a two-step plan of rescue and recovery.
U.S. Vice President Mike Pence says he will not agree to use the 25th Amendment to remove President Donald Trump from office. Italy holds its largest trial on organized crime, with 320 defendants facing serious charges. Estonia's president has asked opposition leader Kaja Kallas of the Centre-Right Reform Party to form the next government. The move follows the resignation of the prime minister, who is facing a criminal investigation. And Japan has expanded its coronavirus state of emergency to 7 additional areas, including Osaka and Kyoto.
President-elect Joe Biden is calling for a $1.9 trillion pandemic relief plan. It includes $1,400 per person in direct payments to most households, a $400 a week unemployment insurance supplement through September, expanded paid leave, and increases to the child tax credit.
We have to act, and we have to act now.
Money would also go into testing, vaccine distribution, and additional support for state and local governments. That is likely to get bipartisan support, but the plan also includes ideas from Democrats that Republicans have rejected in the past. The UK is banning travelers from South America and Portugal starting today over concerns about a new COVID-19 variant that's emerged in the Brazilian Amazon. The variant shares similarities with highly infectious strains identified in Britain and South Africa. U.S. stock futures edged down this morning, suggesting that the S&P 500 could fall for a second day. Europe stocks also declined after a 3-day run of gains. Asian indexes were mixed. And looking ahead, December retail sales figures come out later this morning, and J.P. Morgan Chase, Wells Fargo, Citigroup, and PNC all report earnings.
To NHK Newsline, I'm Kanako Sakno. We begin this hour here in Tokyo. There are signs the coronavirus is continuing to spread in one of the world's largest urban areas, despite a week-old state of emergency. Officials reported 2,001 new cases in the capital on Friday. It's the 4th time the figure has topped 2,000 in the past 9 days. As of Thursday, the reproduction rate of the virus was still above 1 in Tokyo and 3 of the surrounding prefectures, where the state of emergency is in place. That means infections are still rising. Mobile phone data show the number of people in major commercial districts around the capital has not fallen as much as authorities were hoping. Warnings from experts are growing increasingly urgent.
Everyone needs to avoid non-essential outings as much as possible. That means more people working from home in particular, to minimize social contact.
Nearly half of confirmed cases in Tokyo involve people younger than 40. While most never become seriously ill, some suffer from worrying health problems later on. This woman in her 20s, who didn't want to be identified, was infected last September. She didn't develop symptoms at the time, but a few months later she started losing her hair.
I collected this after taking a shower yesterday. I have to do that every day, otherwise my hair would clog the drain.
Experts say young people also often complain of fatigue, loss of taste and breathing problems.
It's quite difficult to completely cure these after effects. We shouldn't take them lightly.
The state of emergency gives prefectural governors legal authority to urge residents to cooperate with prevention efforts, but there are no penalties. The central government wants to change that. Officials are consulting with experts about revising laws to allow people and businesses that do not comply with government requests to face punishment.
The proposed changes could restrict people's rights. The government wants them to be approved as soon as possible. after a thorough debate in the Diet.
Health authorities reported more than 7,100 new cases across the country on Friday and 78 deaths. NHK carried out a public opinion poll from November to December. A majority of respondents say they're ready to accept restrictions on their personal freedom in order to help contain the coronavirus. More than 2,300 people responded to the survey. Among those, 86% said it's acceptable to impose limits on travel and economic activities, while 12% said it's not. As for which measures they would tolerate, 87% cited restrictions on outings, 82% agreed to temporary business closures, and 52% said it was okay to collect location information on people's smartphones. Asked whether revising the law is necessary to allow authorities to impose bans on non-essential outings or to force businesses to close, 42% said it is necessary, 19% said it is not, while 38% were undecided.
I think we have to cooperate as the matter relates to our lives. But I hope authorities carefully consider penalties.
Basically, it is not all right. Things went out of control during the war.
An expert on the Constitution points out that people may want the government to clarify rules.
The government and Diet are in a race against the clock. Any restrictions would be temporary, so the government should clearly explain compensation. I want this to be clarified to the public.
The survey also found that 82% of respondents said the pandemic is affecting their lives either significantly or to some extent. A powerful earthquake has struck the Indonesian island of Sulawesi, killing at least 35 people and injuring hundreds more. Many people are believed to be trapped under collapsed buildings, but rescue operations are being hampered by a lack of heavy machinery. Indonesia's National Disaster Mitigation Agency said the 6.2 magnitude quake hit the province of West Sulawesi at 2:30 a.m. local time on Friday. No tsunami was reported. The quake destroyed hundreds of buildings in Mamuju and Majene in West Sulawesi. The agency said at least 637 people were injured and about 15,000 others had to evacuate their homes. Rescue teams have not been able to enter some parts of the area as the quake destroyed roads. Local officials are calling on people to be on the alert for powerful aftershocks. Thailand has begun granting legal status to illegal migrant workers in the country. This is the latest government measure to prevent the spread of the coronavirus. Agencies started online registration on Friday on behalf of companies that employ foreigners. Once registered, the workers will be allowed to stay and work in Thailand for up to 2 years. They'll be required to undergo coronavirus testing and join health insurance programs. The new program applies to workers from Cambodia, Laos and Myanmar. NGO data indicate there could be as many as 1 million such labourers in Thailand. Thailand saw a number of cluster infections last month, including one among Myanmar migrant workers at a seafood market near Bangkok. The Thai government is intensifying its fight against the pandemic. Some companies have fired their foreign workers out of fear of being investigated. US President-elect Joe Biden has proposed a stimulus package worth $1.9 trillion to cope with the pandemic, days before he'll assume the country's top job.
It's not just that smart fiscal investments, including deficit spending, are more urgent than ever. It's that the return on these investments in jobs, racial equity, will prevent long-term economic damage, and the benefits will far surpass the cost.
Biden unveiled what he's calling the American Rescue Plan on Thursday. It includes $1,400 checks for Americans in need. That's in addition to the $600 approved under the last congressional stimulus legislation. Biden's proposal also includes funding to significantly expand virus testing and vaccination capacity, as well as subsidies for state and local governments. US media outlets say if it's approved, the relief package would be one of the largest in US history. The House of Representatives and the Senate will need to vote in favor of the plan, but the Democrats will control both of those chambers. Ahead of the inauguration ceremony of Joe Biden next Wednesday, the FBI is warning of calls for armed protests across the US.
We are seeing an extensive amount of concerning online chatter, I guess the best way I would describe it, about a number of events surrounding the inauguration.
Ray referred to last week's siege of the Capitol by supporters of President Donald Trump. He said the FBI has identified over 200 suspects, adding that the agency and its partners have already arrested more than 100 individuals. Ray noted that efforts are being made to prevent a recurrence of the attack. He said, "Our posture is aggressive and it's going to stay that way through the inauguration."
We're going to ensure that we have a safe inauguration, that President-elect Joe Biden, Vice President-elect Kamala Harris are sworn in a manner consistent with our history, with our traditions.
20,000 National Guard troops will have been mobilized in Washington, D.C. by January 20th. The central part of the Capitol will also see extensive road closures. North Korea has showcased what appears to be a submarine-launched ballistic missile at a military parade to mark a major ruling party meeting. It's the second such parade since October. State-run TV said the country's leader Kim Jong-un attended the event on Thursday night at Kim Il-sung Square in Pyongyang. Defense Minister Kim Jong-kwon told the gathering that if the North encounters any threat to its safety, it would launch powerful preemptive attacks. State-run media also said the military used the event to display military hardware. It broadcast video showing ballistic missiles labeled Pukguksong 5. That could be a new type of weapon designed to launch from submarines. A Japanese military analyst says the casing at the tip of the missile seems much longer than on the previous model and could be designed to cover nuclear warheads.
I think they want to load more powerful warheads than on Pukguksong 4, or that they intend to fit multiple warheads.
At his Congress earlier this week, Kim Jong-un was elected General Secretary of the Workers' Party. During the meeting, he reportedly described the United States as the North's biggest enemy. He pledged to push ahead with Pyongyang's nuclear and missile programs. The analyst also says the parade was apparently intended as a show of strength by North Korea ahead of US President-elect Joe Biden's inauguration. A United Nations treaty banning nuclear weapons is due to take effect in a week. The 5 major nuclear powers and countries such as Japan that fall under the US nuclear umbrella have not joined the treaty. A member of the International Campaign to Abolish Nuclear Weapons says the organization will step up lobbying efforts on such countries.
Launching nuclear weapons could kill hundreds of thousands or millions of people. It is a complete illusion that peace in Japan and the world is being protected in such a circumstance.
The UN adopted the Treaty on the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons in July 2017. It will go into effect next Friday, as it reached 50 ratifications last October. Kawasaki said the organization, which won the Nobel Peace Prize in 2017, will also call on financial institutions to ban investment in nuclear weapons development and production projects. The Japanese government says disarmament will not progress without the involvement of nuclear-armed nations. It is also cautious about taking part using observer status at conferences of signatories. It's winter in the northern hemisphere, but some people in Siberia are having really cold weather for a really long time. Our meteorologist Jonathan Oh has the details in World Weather.
Hello, we talk about chilly weather, especially in the northern hemisphere during the winter times, but when it comes to really cold weather, we have to look towards Siberia, and it's been a prolonged period of chilly weather. Here's some video to kind of give you an idea of this. Over in Siberia, it's been the longest cold spell in more than a decade. Some areas seeing temperatures dipping to minus 56.2 degrees Celsius Thursday. Drivers had to keep their car engines running throughout the night to prevent from freezing. There was an avalanche that occurred in a Siberian town last Saturday that buried several cabins with people inside. The frigid weather will continue into the end of January, and temperatures may drop to as low as minus 60 degrees. There's this one